Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Garage Time TV here. I am Marshall, and today we are jumping back into our 1952 GMC Pickup project. Now it doesn't look anything like a pickup, but we're getting there. What we're going to be doing today is swapping out the rear end. So we currently have the factory rear end in it with a torque tube and all of that good stuff. But we actually picked up a rear end from a 2004 Chevy Colorado off of Facebook Marketplace for $100. And the gear ratio is much better. I think it's got 348 or 373 gears, so that'll be nice for highway cruising on nice beautiful days like this. But we're going to do a couple things. We're going to cut off all the U-joints on this one because we're not going to be reusing them. They are really ugly and they're pretty corroded, so we're just going to go pick up a new set with new plates as well. But we will be reusing the leaf springs. The leaf springs aren't broken, there's nothing cracked on them or anything like that. They look good. They just need to be cleaned up and painted just like we did on the frame. Now last episode, if you didn't see that, we did clean up the frame with a wire wheel pretty significantly and got it all painted this nice black. We have started working on bodywork. That's why you see all this dust and dirt everywhere. I'm not going to show you every single panel every day. It's going to be tons of footage and it's just going to be a rinse and repeat of everything. Now when we get down to like the last panel, I'll probably bring you on and see kind of how we did that, and that's how we did it for all the panels. But we've done 3 panels. Yeah, 3. We've done 3 panels, so we've got a long way to go, but we're just going to be doing a little bit at a time on that. And over the time, we'll try and do filler stuff like this to keep the project going. Again, it's just going to be taking a little bit more time between episodes, but we're still working on it. So let's dive into this. We'll undo the shocks. We're going to be getting new shocks as well. We'll get the shocks off of this. We'll cut those U-bolts and roll out this old rear end. And then we'll paint the leaf springs, get them all nice and pretty looking. And then we'll run to the store, pick up the U-bolts, some other stuff that we're needing, like a rear rubber brake line. We're going to need a little T for it is missing off of it. Probably some new gear fluid and maybe even a rear cover gasket, because it'd probably be a good idea to get in there and take a look at those gears as we're doing all this work. So, lots to do today. First things first, let's knock all this stuff out, get the stuff cut off, and start rolling it all out. So we've got that rear end out, kind of out of our way, and then we painted the leaf springs. If the glare doesn't get you, there we go. So the leaf springs are in there drying. It's going to take a little bit. It's a nice thick coat. But what I've also got out here is this new rear diff. So let's take a look at it. Again, this is a rear end out of a 2004 Chevy Colorado. It still has the 6 lug, so 6 by 5.5 bolt pattern, which is the same that originally came on the truck. So they'll have the same size wheel pattern there. A couple things that are missing is going to be our T for our brake line and a rubber line. We'll need to get one of those. And then, of course, all the brake stuff. So there's no wheel cylinder, brake pads, the shoes, the drum, springs, all that stuff. We're going to need to get a full kit like that. Not super worried about that at this moment, but everything else is there. Everything is nice and free. So a couple things I want to do is pop off this rear cover. It looks like it's probably never been opened. So we'll go ahead and pop this out and drain the fluid out and see what that looks like. And then we can see if we can find a serial number on the pinion, the ring and pinion gear, to see if it'll tell us what gear ratio that is, and it should be on there. And the other thing we're going to need to start doing is looking at our spring purchase. So you can see where the original U-bolts came around to the spring that sits here, and there's a hole right there that actually centers it on the spring. So we're going to need to look at the measurement of that, because I think these are going to have to move just a little bit, but I want to make sure we keep them on the same part of the circle here of the axle tube. That way we keep our pinion angle. So we'll probably do one at a time. We'll have to measure that and everything, but first things first, before we get all into the math and all that, let's crack this open and let this start leaking, and then we can start looking into this. The other good thing is we've got a rear sway bar. That'd be pretty nice to be able to hook that up. That'd be pretty nice actually, but we'll have to see. You know, this isn't obviously made for this, so we'll have to play around a little bit and see what we can come up with. If it'll even work in here, we'll see. But let's crack this open and see what we're working with. Well, first impressions, looks pretty good. I don't see any excessive wear or anything. I'm gonna have to take the pressure off the thing in the front spinny thingy where the U-joint goes. You know what I'm talking about. It looks like there's a magnetic pickup on the back cover here. Hopefully you can see that. Nothing that's like yelling at me excessive. You know, then again, this is a 20-year-old diff, so I mean, is there going to be some wear? Sure, but that's nothing crazy that I'm super worried about. Just wish it didn't make such a mess. But the other thing is, I don't see a whole lot of glitter in the oil, which is good. So let's see if we can get this thing to turn around. All right, now let's see if we can try and find a ratio here. Spider gears look all good. Just a little bit of pitting on some of them. Other than that, looks okay. .18 of 2004, so it is a 2004. It's good to know. That's what I was told it was. Looks like we've got some numbers here. Let me grab my pocket computer here, my cellular device, and see if we can decode that. I think it's some number divided by another number, and it gives you the ratio. So let me grab some brake clean, actually spread it off so we can get a better look at it, and we'll see what we got.
1 hour later.
Alright, so the internet didn't really help me super well, But what I did do is get white paint pen all over myself. So what I did is, if I can come back around here, so I put a white paint mark here, and I counted, and I turned the pinion in the front where the U-joint goes up here, and I counted, and there's 41 teeth. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, underneath, the pinion is down there. And so I put the same thing, I put a white mark on it, and I turned it, and I counted it, and there's 12. So there's 41 teeth here, 12 over there. When you divide those together, you get a 341 gears. I really thought this was going to be a 373, more highway gears, but 341 is right in the middle, and we will gladly take that. 341 is pretty good. Let me double check my math, because math is hard. 41 divided by 12, 341.66666 forever. So 341 gears. Another way you could do that is if you don't pull the rear cover, you can just spin this and watch your wheel on the other side for every one turn, see how many times that turns. So if we did that same method, we would see that for every one turn of this, out here would turn 3.4 times. So that's pretty awesome. That's pretty middle of the road gears. I was actually really expecting something higher like a 410 or 373, but I'll gladly take a 341. Somewhere in the middle that gives us good torque, but also a little bit lower RPMs on the highway. So let's clean up a little bit here. I'm gonna shoot some brake clean on this, get that magnet cleaned up, and get that taken care of. Our gasket is actually looks like it's been replaced. Should be able to slap that back on there. Sweet. So we'll save a little bit of money there. Clean up the surface, brake clean, get it all taken care of. Then we'll go get some new gear oil while everything still dries, and find the missing pieces. So let me do that, and we'll be right back.
Several days later.
Okay, so it's been about 3 days since that last clip. We got done painting all of our leaf springs, and we took that rear diff cover off and took a look at that, got it all cleaned out. We were able to put that same diff cover gasket on there. It was like a Felpro one, so it looked pretty good shape, and it sealed up just fine. We did top it up with 1.5 quarts of gear oil, 80/90 Cure oil. And for the past day or so, I've been working on the U-bolt and plates for our leaf springs for our axle to attach to. Now, before I did any of that, I wanted to have the axle set in there on those locating pins, because on top of each of the springs is a dowel that sticks up, and the leaf spring is supposed to slide on top of that. And that kind of centers it. It also keeps the pinion angle relatively similar, I'm hoping. So we're gonna see how that goes. But during all of this process, I just kind of got into it and I got in the groove, and I realized, oh, I'm not recording any of this. So I apologize. We are a little bit ahead, and I didn't catch all of it, but some of it wasn't super exciting. But let me catch up to right where we are right now. So lots of progress has been made. As you can tell, the wheels and tires are on, but we were able to slide it in there, and we got it to line up right on the pins. So don't mind this, we'll cover this in a second. But down in there, there is a locating pin and a hole for it to fit in. It's a perfect fit, nice and tight. You have to kind of tap it down on there, and it sits in there. That's on both sides. So then what I did after that, once it got in there, I wanted to make sure that it's actually centered. It does look the springs are maybe a little bit on the inside, but once we get it moving around, and maybe it'll kind of work itself out, we'll still have to play with that. I'm just kind of worried about how this will track the rear end. I don't want a bunch of uneven wear on the tires, end up looking like this awful one here. But what I did do after that is, once we got it sat in there, was got us a little kit of these U-bolts. And these are, that's the part number right there. and they're 1/2 inch, so they're a little bit thicker than the 7/16 that they came with, and they gave plenty of length, so we were able to go underneath here, and I got some 1/4 inch plate. So this is way more than factory ever had, and it had lots of extra thread. So we were able to get it up on there and cut off the excess. So we just made 4 holes, but we also made a hole for the bottom nut there in the middle that helps locate that as well. So we made a hole for that. The other thing is the bottom shock bracket we actually welded to that plate, and so that's in place as well. We will have to measure for the shock because the shock is going to be a little bit longer than the factory one. I tried out the factory one on there and it's a little short, so we're gonna have to measure for that. Make sure we get full advantage of a shock. But both sides are on there. That 1/4 inch plate is also galvanized, so we should not be having any rust issues there. But the good news is it's all in, and the real test is we're gonna sit here and give it some rolls back and forth and see how it goes. Well, and just like that, we were able to get this 2004 Chevy Colorado rear axle installed. I know I missed a couple things, but it's really just making some metal plates and drilling some 1/2 inch holes. And the middle one was a 9/16 hole to fit around that nut between all of those springs. Now, of course, these are the original leaf springs, and we could have upgraded to some fancy new ones and spent about $350, but these, you know, doing just fine. So we're gonna go with these, and if we want to upgrade in the future, we always can. But we can finally roll this thing back in. As you can tell, the pollen and stuff is landed on this frame, so we gotta get that cleaned up. But there's a lot more to clean up around here, so we gotta get this all taken care of. We won't really know about the tracking until we get more of driving the vehicle, the truck, when we get to that point, especially with its load on it. Then we put some force from the drive shaft into this rear end and see what happens. I do want to do a finalized torque on this as well once we get some load on it, but I'm not super worried about that at this moment. But for $100 for a new rear end off Facebook Marketplace, the U-bolts for about $30, and the plates are from scrap metal I had laying in a pile of stuff that we were able to use, so that saved us some money there as well. And I had to go get a 9/16 inch drill bit. The biggest I had was a 1/2. So altogether, we're looking at probably about $150 with everything, including paint and all that other good stuff. So not too bad for a rear end swap. Totally doable. You know, if you have to go get the metal, it'll cost you a little bit more, but still for less than, let's say, $200, able to do this rear end swap. Not bad. And we got 342 gears. I'm really excited about that. Some good solid gears. Not super highway gears, but not super performance race drag type things either. So that'll be really nice when we hit the road. But with that, I think that's going to be the end of the episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Subscribing really helps the channel, so please make sure you do that. Also, make sure you check out all of our helpful links down in the description down below for our merchandise, being part of our memberships, joining those as well, getting involved, our social media, all sorts of good stuff. So make sure you check out the description for all that stuff. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And until next time, we'll see you.